Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is mine?
Hi everyone, welcome to this video lecture where I'm going to talk about my experience working with a client who had OCD. She was a 20-year-old white female college student, and she presented in therapy with symptoms of OCD, which included anxiety and obsessive thoughts about her house being burglarized, in addition to a compulsive ritual that she had developed to manage that anxiety. Her ritual was to systematically check every single door and window in her house to be sure they were locked. And she couldn't haphazardly roam the house checking these doors and windows. She had to perform her ritual in an exact order, or else her anxiety would not be lessened. Her ritual, she reported, took about 20 minutes to complete, and she said she felt compelled to perform this ritual every single time she woke in the night. She said that could be about 4 to 5 times a night. So if we calculate, it's about 100 minutes a night doing her ritual, and then taking time to fall asleep each one of these 4 to 5 times, maybe another 100 minutes, so 200 minutes awake every night as a college student, not going to bed so early. So she did report that this was really taking a toll on her ability to be successful in school. To me, I see some elements here of deviance, of distress, and of dysfunction. The deviance is in that most of us don't have this level of anxiety about the safety of our houses, and most of us likely don't have a checking ritual to engage in. The distress was really how she reported to therapy that she was upset by this behavior and that it was no longer working. And that's part of the dysfunction, as well as her lack of sleep, which was really taking a toll. So our treatment was really eclectic in its approach, which is how a lot of treatment is. We used some elements of mindfulness, and then exposure and response prevention. Our first sessions really focused on building trust and building rapport, as well as learning and practicing some coping skills, including mindfulness and distress tolerance skills. And these were things like breath work, relaxation trainings, and a few others. And you can learn more about distress tolerance in this week's module. On the lecture page, I have included a handout all the way at the very end. So once my client had really worked up these coping strategies, we began the exposure and response prevention part of treatment. So her exposure happened naturally because she was in her house every night exposed to that anxiety about it being burglarized. And her response prevention idea is that she would experience that anxiety and those obsessive thoughts without engaging in her compensatory checking ritual. Now, to quit checking every single door and window cold turkey just seemed too difficult for her. So what we did is negotiated by picking one door and one window that seemed the least likely to be broken into, so seemed the most safe to her. And then she would have to skip that one door and that one window. So in that first week, she was allowed to do her checking ritual, but skipping that one door and that one window. Now, that might not seem like such a big deal to you, but she reported that she barely got any sleep in those first few days of skipping the door and the window. Now, eventually she did say that her coping strategies became more effective. The response prevention was easier for her to do. So we added on doors and windows, making the pieces that she skipped even larger and larger. And she said that the response prevention did continue to get easier. Now, in the college counseling center system, long-term therapy doesn't tend to be the norm, so she and I worked together for only about 8 weeks, which got her to a place where her coping strategies were working really well, and it seemed like at least the compensatory checking ritual was really decreasing in its frequency. And I still hope that that's the case for her. So thanks for listening to some of my experience working with a client with OCD.